Hello everyone and welcome back to Fly From Home. It's the incompetent Catman here again with another Microsoft Flight Simulator video for you, and it's going to be today our old favourite, the Cessna 414. This thing's had quite a lot of updates and improvements since even since I last flew it, so I thought it was worth doing a little flight for you today. Well, a little flight, it's going to be about 2 hours long. In celebration of the time of the year. Of course it's Christmas, so we're going to be flying home for Christmas. We're currently down in Exeter, in the very southwest of the UK. We're going to be flying up to Leeds Bradford. I've got real world weather set, so we're going to be flying from this rather nice, relatively sunny, slightly windy weather we've got down in Exeter, up to the absolute crap that is currently covering Leeds Bradford International Airport up in Yorkshire in the north of the UK. So traditional flying home for Christmas or driving home for Christmas type thing in the best traditions of Chris Rea. We're going to be starting off in the nice stuff and then going into the crap. So quite a lot of improvements in this aircraft. Like I said, we're going to go through, and I'm going to show as many of them as possible. We're not going to show the whole flight because obviously it's going to get a little bit boring in the cruise with me just trying to entertain you with various different flying anecdotes for 2 hours. So we'll fast forward things once we're up there in the cruise, and I'll fast forward it to something interesting for you. Just a quick little update about the channel. I know you've not posted anything in a little while, about a month and a bit. Everybody involved in the channel at the moment is very, very busy, unfortunately. I've had to move to a different airport recently, which is a lot further away from where I live. So my commute is very long now. So I'm kind of coming home in the evenings with very little energy left to do anything, certainly not much energy left to play Flight Simulator and sound at least slightly energetic on a recording. Jimbo has gone back to doing something productive with his life. He's actually got a real commercial flying job. He's back in the left-hand seat of a real commercial airliner again. He'll probably tell you about that at some point if he ever gets back on at some point to make a video. And a couple of the other guys who work behind the scenes with us, they're also incredibly busy, new jobs and all sorts of good stuff. It's all good stuff. I mean, for them, mine isn't so great, but it means that their schedules are a lot more full, and therefore we've got a lot less time to post stuff on the channel. But never fear, we are going to keep the channel going regardless of how busy we get. It's just that our upload schedule may be a little bit erratic as to when we're free to put stuff up here. So thank you very much for bearing with us and subscribing to the channel if you are subscribed. If you aren't, why the hell not? And hit the subscribe button and all the rest of it, and and stay up to date with whenever we post something new. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to start running through the pre-flight checks on this aircraft. So the flight that we've got today, first of all, let's start in the correct order. So we've got to actually get a route for our flight. So we're going to be flying IFR in the low altitude airways today, relatively low altitude airways, up to Leeds. So what I usually do in this sort of situation is similar to what I would do in real life. So in real life, we use a free website called SkyVector, which is great. You should go and check that out. We usually use SkyVector in lieu of poring over a bunch of paper IFR charts to decide which airways to route down, and we'll then file the flight plan through a website called EuroFPL, which is great for, they give you so many free flight plans a month, so we love free stuff. So that's what we usually do at my flying school when we're planning an IFR flight. So this is just going to be the equivalent of that, really. So we're going to start a new flight here. We'll go manual input. We'll go EGTE for Exeter, and then we're going to throw in EGNM for Leeds Bradford. For the alternate airport, we're going to go EGNJ. We'll go Humberside, reasonably close. It's on the east coast. We don't need a second alternate. We're going to auto-generate via low altitude airways and create. So this app comes with a Navigraph subscription. So if you've got Navigraph, I know a lot of you guys do, it's certainly worth it. I know it costs a little bit of money, but if you want realistic IFR flights in Flight Simulator, it's one of the best things you can invest in. And I'm certainly not the sort of person that's flushed with lots of money, but I certainly think it's worthwhile investing in one of these accounts. So as you can see, it's actually made a little IFR routing for us down all of these airways. And if you look at the chart here, yeah, so as it sees up here, it says high en route, so we don't want high altitude airways, we want low altitude ones. We can see the airways here, so you can see what sort of altitude. So that's got a minimum of 160, 180. Okay, so I think a sensible altitude for this flight is going to be about 20,000 feet, given the length of it, the time it's going to take us to get up there, and also the limitations of the airways. I'm just checking the lower altitude limits of the airways. So we're going to cruise at 20,000 feet. That should be pretty good for our aircraft. Those of you not familiar with the aircraft are going to be thinking, how the hell are you going to get a piston-engined twin up to 20,000 feet? Well, it's pressurized and it's also turbocharged, so it doesn't have a critical altitude until 25,000 feet, believe it or not, this aeroplane. Which is pretty much the same altitude as it used to cruise around at in the Dash 8. So very, very capable aircraft, this one. Okay, so that's our routing. You can see all of the different waypoints, and the grey bits in between are the airways that we're going to be travelling down. So we'll keep that handy for when we program it into our GPS system. I've got the PMS50 GTN 750 units plugged into the Cessna 414 today. You can use the default Garmin 530, which has had a massive upgrade recently. That version of the panel also comes with an old school weather radar and an old school autopilot and all that kind of stuff. At some point I'll probably do a flight with that setup just to show you how all that works. But it's a little bit less capable than the GTN, and I'm a bit more familiar with how to use this stuff, so I'm going to stick to what I know today, unfortunately. So we've planned our routes. So now we need to plan how much fuel we're going to take. So we've got we need enough fuel for the route and our alternate, plus at least a 45-minute reserve. So let's say it's going to take us probably about 20 minutes to get over to Humberside, on top of the 45 minutes. So we need about an hour and a bit reserve. It's a 2-hour flight, so we need 3 and a bit hours of fuel on board, basically. So, according to the aircraft performance documents that I've got open here on my other monitor, we should be burning in the cruise about 242 pounds an hour. So, if we do 242 times 3, that means we need about 726 plus about 10%. So, let's call it 800 pounds of fuel. Now, the awkward thing is the iPad thing here is all in kilos, but never fear, I have an app on my phone for exactly this purpose. So we need about 800 pounds of fuel, which means that we are going to need about 363 kilograms of fuel. So I'm going to increase the amount here until we've got about 360 pounds, and mostly in balance. It's a bit awkward, this, isn't it? You can obviously do it by the Flight Simulator default fuel panel as well, but I prefer to use the in-aircraft stuff. 364, that's close enough. So we've got our fuel on board now. That's good. That's great. Now, the next thing we need to consider is who are we taking with us? So we have a max payload now of 530 kilogram, big useful load on this aircraft. Now we may as well take some people with us, given that we're flying home. Make it worth our while, you know, charge them some money. So who should we take? Should we say? Let's see. Now let's take John and Alicia and their baggage there. There we go. How about Dorothy? Yeah, take her. Rick looking back or Rick? I don't like looking back, Rick. I'll just take regular Rick. Cindy with bottle or Cindy with tablet. EFB, you know, EFB problems with electronics. Let's not take that. We don't trust her iPad. And we'll take little Bobby 11 there. So let's see how we're doing now. Oh, we've got too much. Okay, never mind. Let's dump Rick. That should do it. There we go. Okay, cool. We are within our CG limits for takeoff. Centre of gravity is at 23% mean aerodynamic chord. So we're all good. We're in limits there. We got the fuel. We got the passengers, and this is a feature which wasn't present back when I first reviewed this. Look, we've got everybody sitting in there. You can see the little guy in the back, and Cindy with a water bottle and all the rest of it. Very cool indeed. This colour scheme, by the way, is a Flysim.to special. It's really, really good. It replaces all sorts of different textures in the aeroplane. So if you do fancy something a little bit different for your Cessna 414, I do recommend picking this up. I'll leave a link in the description. So we got fuel, we got payload, we've planned our flight. Next thing to do is, well, let's do the walk around. So we've already got our passengers on board, but obviously, you know, obviously we'd have to open the door for that usually. So let's do that, and let's bring up the aircraft checklist and go to the pre-flight inspection section. So as with most pre-flight checklists, we start off with an interior check. So control lock stowed. Okay, well, it's quite windy today, so I'm going to leave the control lock in. I know the one on the rudder is already removed, so that's fine. Parking brake set. So we do have chocks installed, but I suppose we should check our parking brake is set, which it is. We can now pull the chocks away. Now that's set. Static source selector, normal. Let's check those. Yep, they are set to normal, and we can check that they are working as they should. It's fine. All switches, yeah, all the main electrical switches are in the off position there. Circuit breakers on the pilot side are in, and on the co-pilot side as well. I know that they're in because they don't work yet, but that is on the to-do list for this aeroplane. Volt ammeter selector onto battery. There we go. Forgive the buzzing sound. That's another aeroplane. Ooh, lost my place. Oxygen quantity. So let's check the oxygen quantity. It's behind the control lock. Yeah, we've got full oxygen on board the aeroplane now. Put the control lock back in. Landing gear lever is set to down. Trim tab set for takeoff. Put it in the middle of the white band there. Left fuel selector. Should go to left main, which it is. And then right fuel selector to right main, which it is. Emergency crossfeed shutoff is open. Let's go to the battery switch now. Open the switch guard. Master battery on. Let's check our fuel quantity. So it should agree with what we put in the tank. So you can see we've got pounds there, just under 400 pounds in each tank. Happy days. Fuel totalizer. So, okay. Gallons remaining 60.6. We've actually got more than that now. This is going to take a bit of thinking. Okay, so we've actually got 132 gallons. And this thinks we've got 60.6. So stand by. So we actually need to add 71.4 gallons. So what we need to do is go to add gallons. No, not that one. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 71. I can't do 0.4, so we'll just leave it at that. Enter. There we go, 131 gallons. So that's how you do that, just about. Wing flaps, down 45. So let's put them down in stages. Indicators working. Okay, wing flaps fully down. Anti-collision. Lights. So we do the usual lights check. So let's come over here. Put all the lights on. Electric windshield, or windscreen as we say in the UK, is over here. So you put that on, the lights on, and there should be a corresponding draw on the battery. Well, it's already maxed out, but yeah, we'll take the light to mean that it is actually working. pitot and vent heat switches, so that's a honeycomb button for me, so that's there. Yeah, all the lights are on, blah blah blah, windscreen windows, yeah, fire extinguisher, woo, let's have a look at the fire extinguisher. Oh, there it is, yeah, present and correct. Yoke, so, okay, yeah, full and free, but we'll check that in a second. Cabin door is open, and that's it, so pre-flight inspection 3. So now we're going outside, here we go. So the wing baggage is locked, but we can open it up and have a look inside. We've got no baggage in there today. So this is all new, by the way, the fact that you can actually open stuff from the outside now, which is really cool. That's checked. Aileron and servo tab. So yes, aileron is looking good. Wing flap is all good as well. Navigation lights, ooh, that's bright. Yes, so we've got a nav light, we've also got a strobe on there, landing light filament. Given that it's burning our retinas out, then I'd imagine that, yes, it's working fine. Fuel tank vent is clear and it's not dripping fuel. Bottom outboard wing, yeah, there's no dents or damage. Fuel tank quantity, so we can, this is another one we can have a look. Ooh, yes, there's fuel in there. This is very cool. There we go. De-ice boots, so let's have a look at our condition of our de-ice boots. There's no obvious leaks. Retina burn. All good. Fuel sumps and strainer. So we'd go under here and we'd sump the fuel tank. Where's it? Where is it? It's under here somewhere. I don't think this is one of the things you can actually do, but we'll just assume, obviously, we'd get like a little test tube, and we'd drain some fuel out of the tank to check for debris or water in the fuel. So if you see any bubbles in the bottom of the test tube, that's actually water. So you have to keep straining it until all the water's gone. It doesn't mean that the fuel tank is leaking from the top necessarily. It could just mean that that condensation's just formed inside a partially filled tank, and then the condensation builds up to the point where it drips into the fuel and you get a little bit of contamination. It's nothing really to be worried about, as long as it's not, you know, loads of it. Engine compartment, general condition. Let's have a look at that. Can we open that up? There we go. There's our engine. Yeah, it's looking nice and healthy. Everything's in the right place. No broken wires, no screws or bolts missing, no dripping fluids. Intake air and intercooler opening. So again, we're looking under here. So we've got, I think it's, not sure why we're looking at here. Maybe it's these. No, that's the exhaust, surely. Oh, there. This one. This one's with the intercooler. Oil level. Let's have a look at the oil on the dipstick. There we go. One thing to improve in the future, make the oil level a bit more visible on this thing. So that would be really handy. But yeah, very, very cool. That's all present and correct. Propeller and spinner, yeah, no dents or damage on the prop. These bent over ends are supposed to be there. You can kind of see those. It's an aerodynamic feature of the 4-and-4. Engine openings are clear, so the air-cooled engine, obviously this. You can see the cylinders in there, the number 1 cylinder. Inboard de-ice boots, yep, they're looking good. Gear, strut, tyre and door well, so brakes looking good, tyre, conditioning, creep and inflation. We've got plenty of oleo extension on there. There's nothing in the gear well, no animals have made a nest in there or anything like that. Gear door's looking good, the jack is looking good. The wing tie down, we don't have any tie downs on. Lower fuselage and nose center section. Yeah, all the aerials and the little masts and things are all present correct here. Heat exchanger opening clear, that's this thing here. This actually moves, by the way, in flight. That's all good. Next item. Emergency landing gear, blow down bottle pressure. Oh my god, we're inside the nose. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be looking here, actually. Maybe it's behind this piece of baggage and it's completely ruined the experience. But yes, we're supposed to be checking the blow down bottle pressure. But I can't see it because there's a suitcase in the way. So we'll assume that that's good. Notice baggage door is all closed. And obviously, just like the other stuff, we can pop it open and have a look and make sure everything's okay in there. This is the main baggage compartment of the airplane, a little bit different to what you might imagine if you're familiar with larger aircraft. Pop that closed. Just make sure it is closed. There we go. Make sure all the catches are in line. We'll assume that that one's okay too. It's nice and secure. Nose gear. So God, that taxi light's bright. We've got the tyre conditioning creep and inflation. Plenty of oleo extension on here. The torque link's attached. The gear doors are attached. Blah, blah, blah. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go inside and I'm going to... 1 second. I'm just going to pop these off a sec because they are incredibly bright. Let's go back outside. And yeah, all the catches are closed on this side. Pitot cover is removed. Ram air inlet. I'm guessing that's the one on the nose here for the heater, which is mounted in the nose. Heater, inlet and outlet clear. Ooh, yeah, oh, that's these two over here. Okay, so the ram air is obviously just for cabin air, cold air. That's all checked. Heat exchanger opening on this side is clear. Inboard de-ice boots, yeah, looking good. Tyre condition creep inflation, brake, any brake fluid, again the wheel well, the jack, the gear door, tie downs off. Hydraulic fuel fluid reservoir is over this side. Let's have a look. Oh yes, there's some in there. Air conditioning outlets looking clear. And take an intercooler opening. Assuming that's there. That's good. Oil level. Let's check our oil level over here too. Ah yes. Spinner, looking good. Engine's all clear. Sumpson strainer, let's assume that's done. Air conditioning fuel fluid level. Where's this? That's the same place, we've already checked that one. Air conditioning inlets. Is that around here somewhere? Can't see it. Engine compartment general condition. Yeah. It's an engine. You don't need to understand exactly what all the parts are in here, by the way, but it does help to have a working knowledge of the layout of your own aircraft's engine bay and what all the parts are and where things should be. Outboard de-ice boots, looking in good nick. Main fuel tank quantity, yeah, we'll assume that's all good. Main fuel tank vents clear. Bottom outboard wings looking good, no dents or damage. Landing light, yeah, they're bright. Nav lights working, and we've got a working strobe too. Aileron around the back of the wing now is, yeah, all fine. Wing flap looking good. Wing baggage locker. Got any baggage in this side? Let's have a look. Nope, maybe not. Will that open up? Can't get this one to open up. Oh, there we go. I'm just dumb. See the little light inside here too? Really cool. Closed and locked. That's that done. Static ports. So these are for the static instruments. They're all clear and not full of dirt or damage in any way. De-icing boots on the horizontal tail and vertical tail are all good. Elevator and trim tab looking good. I'd also give these if the control lock wasn't in, I'd give it a little wiggle and make sure they all moved in the correct sense. Rudder and tab looking pretty healthy too. Wing tie downs are removed. Tail cone drain holes. I'm guessing they're underneath the sort of little plastic part of the tail here. I actually had this on an aeroplane I used to fly. Got blocked up with dirt over time, and then it all filled up with rain because the way it kind of attached on is it was just kind of sleeve that sat at the bottom of the rudder here, so it allowed water to get into it as it rained if it rained hard. So had like a little water reservoir in the tail of the airplane, which was handy. Rudder lock is released. In fact, yes, released down here. De-icing boots on this side, looking all good. Static ports on this side, all good. Got 2 sets for redundancy. Cabin door and seal. Ooh, inside we go. Yeah, that's looking fine. Excuse me, madam. Wigan flaps. Okay, the Wigan flaps can come up now, and again, normally I'd do this in stages and make sure they stopped at each point, but I'm just conscious of how long this is taking. Battery switch can now come off. It's interesting that you leave the battery switch on for the whole walk around. I'm sure that's got a risk of draining the battery. Then we're going to turn those off. We'll leave the landing lights in the out position there. They are out, but we can't. I don't want to waste any battery with retracting them. And then we're on to the before starting engines. So cabin door and seal. Let's get these closed. Excuse me again, madam. Very sorry. There we go. Closed, and we've got the green little line in the window there. That's checked. Control locks. So now I'm going to pop the control lock out, because obviously I can hold the yoke as I'm sat in my seat. I'm assuming I'm sat in my seat now. Our lovely co-pilot can obviously help us by holding the yoke as well if it's a little bit gusty. Seatbelt, shoulder harnesses. I'm assuming everybody is now strapped in. I'd probably be giving a safety brief to the passengers at this point, giving them the sort of brief overview of the safety features of the aircraft, weather locations of first aid kits, fire extinguishers, how to do their seatbelts up, how to adjust seats, how to use fresh air vents and all that kind of thing, what to do in the event of emergency, what to do if you hear brace from the front, anything like that. Basically, the whole cabin crew pre-flight brief has to be done by the pilot, because obviously we don't have any cabin crew. Fuel selectors are set to main tanks, we've already done that. Landing gear set down, throttles, props and mixtures set. So we're going to crack the throttle open slightly, props are full forward. I'm going to throw the mixtures full forward. Circuit breakers have already been checked in. For co-pilot, I mean, we'll check them again. Like I said, they don't work at the moment, but you would normally check them again just in case, because we've had the electrics on, so it could have been that one of them's popped out. I'm going to turn that pitot heater off as well. Clock flight time 0. Well, it doesn't work because the battery's not on, so I'll do that in a sec. Prop sync is set off. Battery switch on. There we go. Let's hit 0 on there. Gear position lights, we've got 3 greens. It's down there. Fuel totalizer has already been set. Parking brake is set. Starting engines. Propeller is clear. Right, okay. Ready to make some noise. So let's get this away for now. Pop it in the little pocket there, so we can open up the window. There we go. As you can see, they open inwards on this airplane. Most pressurized aircraft, you'll find that kind of thing, that either the windows slide or they open in like this, because when the aircraft pressurizes, it pushes out on the seal rather than an outward opening window. You'd be just putting all the pressure on the lock itself. So there we go. A little bit of trivia for you, mags. So let's open the switch guard and the gang bar, sorry, and put the mags on for the left engine. Generally start number 1 engine, left engine first on a piston aircraft, unless there's somebody stood near it, because you've got a better view of it on this side of the aircraft. So if there is somebody standing around it, you've got a good view of what's going on. And engine start. So what we're going to do is give it a bit of prime for a few seconds, and then say a short prayer to Jesus and hit the starter. And there we go, beautiful 6-cylinder noise. Starts up, RPM is a little bit low, and then it's going to pick up probably, so just keep an eye on that. We've got oil pressure in the green, starter warning light is out, RPM to 1000. No warning lights. Let's put the alternator on that side, and the fuel pump on low. Pop the window closed. There we go. Now we've got the benefits of that lovely noise. Let's prime the right engine now for a few seconds. Mags on. Hit the starter. Hold it. There we go. Good start. Oil pressure's coming up. No starter warning lights. RPM to 1000. Alternator on, warning lights are out. Got good left and right alternator. And fuel pump on low to help it run smoothly. Something my good friend Nathan taught me for Cessna Twins. Engines are all running. So avionics on and set. So it's time to set up our avionics. I'm going to hit the button. Start firing things up. Pre-flight test going on the autopilot here, hence all the beeping noises. Let's check that message. Yeah, nothing in there. Okay, cool. So now we need to set our flight plan up. So hopefully this isn't going to take too long, because obviously we're now burning fuel. Normally what I'd do if I had a long setup to do, I would ask for a ground power unit of some sort and set the aeroplane up with the battery running with a ground power unit attached before we start the engine. But nonetheless, we've got fuel to burn today, so let's put our route in now. So I'm going to go to flight plan. Give it a second to work its life out. EGTE for Exeter, enter. So what I'm going to do is just take the routing from the top here. So it's direct Torpo. So actually hang on, destination EGNM. Almost did something stupid. Exeter, Leeds Bradford, there we go. En route waypoint now, Torpo. So TOPRO. Got there eventually. There we go, top row. And then we've got November 864, so we'll click on. We'll have load airway 864. And we're exiting 864 at Neaton. There. We'll load that leg. And then from Neaton, we're going to Papa 17. And we're staying on Papa 17 until Cooksem. And from there we're going direct. So there we go. We've got our flight plan all loaded in. Now, what I'd be doing, or what Pilot Not Flying would be doing, is probably have the paper flight plan in front of them and checking through all of those waypoints, make sure they're all in the right order as per the flight plan. But today we'll just assume that they're all in properly. They certainly look like we're going in the right direction. Just have a quick look. It is looking good. Very much like the one we've got on the Navigraph screen here. I've got Nextrad weather data on here, by the way, so that's what all these colours are, and you can see all of the horrible weather we're going to be flying into. This is going to be lots of fun. There we go. Focus it back on the aircraft. So flight plan is in. In terms of, let's have a look at some charts. Okay. So this is a useful one to have on for taxi. So I've just brought up an airport chart for Exeter on here. So we can presume that our taxi routing, because it's going to be runway 26 in use today, given the wind. So we're going to be taxiing down Charlie and then a backtrack to the end with a little turnaround, take off from there. We'll do our power checks probably round about here before we come onto the runway. Well, I mean, there could be space to do it. Space to do it at the end, maybe, but I mean, we'll do them at Charlie just in case, and then we'll do the rest of the taxi from there. So that's handy. That. What we can also do is get a waypoint info, airports, put Exeter in there, have a look at the frequencies, and we can tune some ATIS. Hang on, where's the audio panel? Oh, there we go. Just listening to COM2.
Exeter Airport information, Charlie 1300 Zulu. Wind 281 at 15. Visibility 6. Sky condition, ceiling 1,300 feet broken. Temperature 13. Dew point 10. QNH 29.56. ILS runway 26 in use. Landing and departing runway 26. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All
Okay, info Charlie. So that's handy. There we go. We can also pop tower in there on the standby as well. 119805. Transfer it on to number 1 there and approach 128 580. Now, we're not going to be flying with ATC today, but this is obviously just what I'd do in real life, so I'd always have my frequency set up ahead of time to reduce the workload as much as possible when the aircraft's airborne. You want to do as much on the ground as you possibly can to reduce your workload in the air. So that's the comm radios set up. So now the next thing we need to do is check and set the nav radios. So what we can do for that is, if we have a look at our charts here. Okay, so if we have a look at our charts here, we've got the ILS for runway 26, we've also got an NDB for 26. So if we tune our nav radios to these, we can check that they are working properly, and I'd always recommend doing this, again, on the ground to give you less to do in the air, and also it's a lot less of a problem if you find out something's broken on the ground than if you find out it's broken in the air. So 1099, so let's put it on the navs. Also, it's a good idea to have the ILS tuned for the runway you're departing from, just in case you have some kind of emergency. You can come straight back round, everything's set up to fly an approach to land on the runway you've just taken off from. So we're getting a signal here from on the nav radio here. So if I just scroll through, we should see no change on the CDI, which is normal for an ILS. That's all good. We should be able to get an ident as well, so I mean, we have got a text ident here, so an audio ident's a little bit not useful. We can hit the DME and get an ident for DME though. We are actually getting a signal on our DME here. You may notice it's got a little quieter in here. That's because I've turned the headphone simulation on. So hopefully we'll be able to hear that ident from the DME. You can see you can check the actual digital instrument itself. Yeah, can't hear it. Yeah, don't know, not sure. Normally you'd be able to get an ident from that, and you would have to ident it separately from the nav radios, believe it or not, because they're two separate signals. They just piggyback on each other. So that's what that one done. Com2 is text idented there, so that's all working as it should. 337 is our NDB, so let's set that up. Swap it over. Check our RMI, if I can remember where that even is. Okay, so it's over here. So it should be giving us 337. It's actually just pointing at the right wing, which is annoying. Okay, so normally that should be that should probably pick that up. Let's see if we can get an ident off it. Yeah, volume's turned up nice and high. No idents. That's annoying. I don't know if that's a sim problem or a me problem or a plane problem or what it is, but normally you'd be able to pick up the idents on the ground, and that would give you a big advantage because we're able to check your ADF radio is working, but never mind. Okay, comms and navs are all set, so let's assume flight plan's in, so let's assume avionics are all done. And now we are taxiing, so brakes check, flight instruments check, on the way out, all good to go. So let's hide those up at the top. Have a good look around. We've got a cargo ATR parked up next to us. Japan Airlines are also hanging out here. That's a bit extreme for Exeter. Everybody's clear left and right. It is a self-position stand, so we should be able to come out of here. So let's idle power. Oh, something else we need to do as well. If I get the iPad back up again, I'm just going to start actually taxiing. But as you can see, our cabin...
176 miles.
is really hot at the moment. It's actually unseasonably warm in the UK right now, so what we can do is we can turn down the temperatures.
Cleared ILS runway 26 approach Logan Tree 17.
There we go, and we can give ourselves some air conditioning as well. That should bring the temps inside the cabin down while we're taxiing around. We can also... Oh, we would have nav lights on already. Taxi lights can come on now. So turning right, numbers increasing, wings right, balls left, everything else stable.
Logan Tree 17, wind 281 at 15. Clear to land runway 26.
Sounds like Logan Air are coming in. Don't know if Logan Air actually do a route to Exeter in real life. Can't remember ever seeing them there. Lots of light aircraft on the ground here. I remember as I was flying home from here one day, I saw an aircraft that I used to fly back when I used to work at Nottingham, just parked on the grass here down in Exeter. It's a bit of a weird moment. So as I said, we're just making us our way to holding point Charlie right now for our power checks. Hopefully Logan Air don't want to come off the runway at Charlie. Otherwise it's going to get a little awkward. See the big hangar there? This looks like it's got a 7.3 sticking out of it. Lots of maintenance stuff. Flying Colours are also based here that do repaints on airliners. So lots of stuff happening at Exeter Airport. Is that Logan Air? They look a bit high. Then again, the Scottish, you can't trust the Scots. Joking. Okay, turning left, numbers decreasing. Wings left, balls right, everything else stable. Okay, I'm going to swing around here and shove the back end of the airplane over this little bit of rough on the ground here. I'm going to put us roughly into wind, but it shouldn't matter too much in an airplane like this. Parking rate set, RPM back to 1,000. Ready for our power checks.
Contact ground on 119.805.
So brakes were good, and we did our flight instruments check. Okay, so cover the brakes, check as best we can, clear behind, I'm assuming we are.
119.805 Logan Tree 17.
We're going to run up to 1,700 RPM. Okay, left and right fuel flow lights are out, alternators are both charging, vacuum system is there hiding behind the iPad but no lights. Magnetos, so left mag, left engine, about 100 RPM drop. Right mag, left engine, again about 100 RPM drop. Left mag, right engine, about the same. Right mag, right engine, about the same. Back on, recovering. That's all good. Props. So we're going to do this together.
Exeter ground, Logan Tree
Go.
17 taxi.
Got one.
Southwest parking.
Decrease in RPM, slight increase in manifold pressure. Would be more than that in real life. Cycle, any oil? No oil. And then we're going to check for oil pressure fluctuation. Oil pressure drops, then recovers as the clock cycle. Flight instruments. Okay, so we've got a QNH 1001, so let's set that on here. And that one is still only in American, so I'm going to cheat and press B. There we go. This one we're going to line up on runway heading, which is 257. Well, we have to do this with the props, with the power still set at 1700. In fact, I'm going to reduce to idle now. There, and then heading bug. And then back to 1000. Always check the idle just to make sure the engines don't stop. And then back to ground idle. The reason we have a ground idle, by the way, in piston-engined aeroplanes is, well, air-cooled ones anyway, is that it helps to keep cooling air coming through the front of the engine. Throttles are reset. Flight instruments are all good, set for departure before takeoff. Checks. Fuel quantity is 131 gallons remaining. Fuel selectors are set main tanks. Emergency crossfeed shutoff is closed. Cowl flaps are open. Trim tab set for takeoff. Wing flaps are up and indicating. Prop sync is off. Flight instruments are checked and set. Avionics set for departure. Lights is required. So we've got nav lights on, taxi lights on, anti-cols and landings to come. Cabin doors and windows, yeah, all closed. Nobody's trying to escape. Pressurization, so we're going up to 20,000 feet, so let's make sure we have this set correctly. So we're looking on the inner scale for 20,000. Like that. Annunciator panels all clear apart from aircon. We will turn the aircon off now just to circulate. Auxiliary fuel pumps go to high now. Flight controls, so left hand down, left side up, other side opposites. Right hand down, right side up, other side opposites. Full aft, full forward, full left pedal, full right pedal, back to the middle, everything else is neutral. So flight controls are all checked. Ice protection is required. Shouldn't need any for departure just yet. Seatbelts, jump harvesters are all secure. And then it's just the final checks on there. We'll have takeoff set on there, ready to go. So, idle power, release parking brake, bit of asymmetric thrust to get us turned around the corner here. Going to come off the taxi chart now. I'll put traffic on this side. Might be useful. Okay, pulling onto the runway. Nothing seen, nothing heard. Let's do our lineup check. So approach path is clear, right and left. Transponder, let's just put default IFR in here. And we'll go altitude reporting. Pitot heater is on the honeycomb, so we'll click that on. Stall heat can go on as well. And the lights, so landing lights on, or they're already out, remember, and anti-cols can come on as well. Okay, I'm going to make reasonable progress given that we're on an active runway. Pushing the yoke away from me a little bit now to counteract the fact that we've got reasonably strong tailwind. So initial climb, let's climb initially to 5,000 feet. I'm going to hit the go around button on my throttle. Just going to bring the flight director up. Should give us some guidance for departure, at least in terms of pitch. Use a little pad at the end here to help us turn around. Make sure all these are open. I'm going to turn the blower off now. Okay, hold on the toe brakes, start to bring the power up, checking T's and P's. Everything green. Coming off the power. Start to advance the throttles. Just advancing reasonably slowly to give the wastegates time to catch up on the turbos so we don't overboost. It's full power set. Airspeed's alive. And we're up. Positive climb. Gear up. Reasonably rough and bumpy down here, so okay, about 500 AGL. Going to start bringing power back to top of the greens. 2,500 RPM for the climb. Clear to the right. Start a right-hand turn towards our routing. We'll pitch for 120. This is a good climb speed for this aircraft. Using the honeycomb to set the course bar up. And the heading knob. That'll do. In fact, there's no requirement for us to pick up our initial track because it's just a direct to, so I'm just going to give us a direct to like that. Make sure we've got the CDI and GPS there. Then we'll go heading IS, adjust to 120. Make sure we've got the yaw damper on. And autopilot on. And relax, and we'll run the checklist engine instruments in the green, 1,000 to go. Minimum control speed well above after takeoff. Gear and flaps are up, yaw dampers on, aux pumps to low. Set ice protection not required, clear clouds in fact, but we are going to change that to weather radar. Landing taxi lights, so taxi lights can come off, landing lights can now retract. Prompt sync is off. And climb checklist, power, set for climb. So we're leveling off now at 5,000. Let's assume we've now been cleared all the way up to our cruise at flight level 200. So set the op bug. Let's go IS. Bring the speed back to 120 again. Okay, 200 set, and then we'll set standard. Once. And twice. Okay, let's quickly check pressurization. Cabin's climbing, but only at 500 feet per minute. It's looking good. Cabin altitude's below our current cruising altitude, so we are pressurizing. Mixtures are fine, we'll even full rich for the climb. Cowl flaps are open, aircon, so it's getting a little bit cold now, so let's adjust the temperatures a little bit. It is going to get reasonably cold in the upper atmosphere today, so we're going to have to start managing temperatures as required. Pressurization is all good. Oxygen is still in the green. Altimeters are set standard. Next one's cruise checklist. Okay, so get rid of that now. So, good practice would be to tune some en route nav aids. So we've got Cardiff on the 389. Cardiff NTV picking that up? No? Might be a little bit far away. We've also got a VOR here at Brecon at 11745, so I'll put that on nav. Now we don't need the ILS anymore. BCM VOR, and we are getting a signal on that, and we can see nav radios are outputting. Right, so there's nothing much to do now in the climb other than monitor the engine temps, make sure everything's all nice and healthy, and play the cabin temperature mini game, which is surprisingly difficult. Pretty strong winds aloft today, as you can see there, 40 knots straight across from the west over there. But for now, weather's pretty nice. We're south of the worst of it. It seems reasonably smooth as well, which is handy. Okay, we've gone past 10,000 feet, so that's usually a good point, again, to check your pressurization. So let's check cabin altitude. It is 5,000 feet. We've got a cabin rate of 500 feet a minute. We are still pressurizing properly. Check on the passengers. In fact, we should probably do the little check that I usually get people to do in the Flying IFR. So the check is FRIDA IMC. So FRIDA stands for fuel, so check your fuel levels, so 131. Did I not set that going? Oh my days. Okay, that might not be accurate. But yes, fuel is in balance. Radio is, well, obviously we'd be talking to London Control at this point, but let's assume we've tuned that in. Nav radios, we have tuned some sensible en route nav aids. Engine T's and P's, yeah, all looking good. Mixtures can stay full rich. Cow flaps are closed. DI, so we've got the DI aligned onto the desired track. We've got heading bug aligned. Altimeters both set standard and cross-checked. Eyes for icing, we're clear of icing conditions. We are now inside the icing range in terms of temperature. So minus 10 is that, or minus 20? Minus 20? Are you kidding me? Okay. Yeah, so it's really cold. Really cold outside. So if we do hit any cloud, we're straight into icing conditions, but we are clear at the moment. M is for MSA. Current MSA is, I have no idea. I wonder if I can set that up on here. So this is something you can do on the G1000. So we could have, instead of, in fact, let's do it on this side. So instead of track, we can have... Ah. No, you can't have it. On the G1000, you can actually get it to display the regional MSA for you. Minimum safe altitude, which is the lowest altitude you would descend when you're IFR. It's very, very handy to know that. Is it on here? Well, we'll use the big numbers on here. So we'll say 4.3 is our MSA, and we're well above that. And the C part of IMC is comfort. So we'll be leaning back here and asking our lovely passengers, are they comfy? Do they have water? Are their iPads fully charged? And are they all happy and healthy? So everything's pretty comfy, and we could just relax and monitor the aircraft in the cruise as we climb. Okay, we are just coming up to the level off now, 1,000 to go. As you can see, the cabin is now getting really cold, so before our passengers turning to icicles, let's max out our cabin there. And also, we're going to put the cabin heater on as well. So that's the little fuel burning heater in the nose, which is hopefully going to stop us from turning into icicles. Good thing is, it looks like we're above all of the worst of the weather. You can turn the brightness up and down on the tablet, which is pretty cool. There's all sorts of things on here, by the way. There's the checklist stuff. Can you do? Ah, look at that! So I don't even need to bring the Microsoft Flight Simulator checklist panel into this anymore. That's handy. So, yeah, oh, brilliant. Oh, okay. Bomb ID you. Just have that up ready to go. Okay, we are now leveling off, so we'll let the aircraft build a little bit of speed, and then we're going to bring the power back to our cruise settings, which for 20,000 feet best airspeed or best TAS is going to be at about a sort of 85% power setting, so it's going to be 34 inches of manifold pressure and 2,300 RPM. If you're wondering where I'm getting this info from, there is a really big beefy manual that comes with this aeroplane, so if you have bought yourself the Cessna 404, I would certainly recommend reading that. So I'm going to start setting that now just by bringing the power back to 34 inches and 23 on the manifold on the RPM, sorry. It's looking good. So the power set, the mixtures, we're going to start to pull them back, and I'm going to go for peak EGTE. So this should give us about 289 pounds an hour. But we're actually doing a little bit better than that, it seems, so that's handy. So peak EGTE is set, so I'm just looking at the EGTE gauges here. So that's mixture done, and props can go to synchronize now, and check pressurization. Cabin rate is now 0, pressurized at 6,000 feet cabin altitude, and pop back here, sorry there, see our cabin is still really cold, so let's make sure they're all turned up as much as we can get them. Alright, cool. Shut up. So hopefully we can warm things up a little bit, because it's a bit cold in the cabin right now. Now, as you may have noticed on the departure, I did a really bad thing, because I forgot to set the fuel calculator running properly. Now this thing is not actually linked to the fuel sensors inside the tanks. It's up to the pilot to set it to the correct level before the flight and set it running. And it's just based on the fuel flow sensors in each engine. It will subtract the total, or the fuel burned from the fuel remaining. Now, if you don't set it going, then obviously it's not going to start off with the right value in it. So it may be completely balked, in which case we're just going to have to rely on the old school gauges and the fact that we know that the aircraft burns a certain amount of fuel per hour. But what we can do, if we'd have set this up properly, what we could do is go to the fuel plan system here and go from present position, use sensor data, and we can see that fuel required to Leeds down the current route is going to be 30 gallons, there or thereabouts, which is going to give us a total fuel remaining of 81.5 gallons, which means almost 2 hours worth of fuel. So plenty of endurance there at the current fuel flow, so that's handy. Something else you may want to think about planning is your vertical profile. So if we bring up Navigraph here, it's going to be a runway 14 arrival at Leeds, and it is. Okay, so wind 090 at 7 at Leeds. It's significantly different to what we departed with, but such is life. Runway 14 Leeds. So if we bring up some charts for 14, can't remember if it's Yankee or Zulu. I think it's Yankee. Click on that. Charts. Approach. ILS 14. It's only giving us Zulu, interesting enough. And we're not Cat C or D, so that's handy, but never mind. Okay, so top drop for this one is 3,000 feet. So if we say we want to be at 3,000 feet, about, let's say with 10 miles to run, it's telling us to begin descent now. That's handy. 500 feet per minute is a little bit much for a pressurized airplane. I mean, we can easily go with 1,500. In fact, maybe a little bit much. So let's go with 1,200 feet per minute. We can descend in 20 minutes. Okay, handy. So if I put an altitude in, so let's say, hang on, let's load a procedure. So let's load the overlay. ILS 14, we better take the Zulu because that's the chart that we've got. And we'll take the transition via the LBA. Load that approach. We've got some vertical info there, so it may actually start giving us vertical guidance from that. But we'll have to see. Watch this space. Where the radar's still clear, still looking good, still over the top of the majority of it. Past Bracken and Cardiff now, we can tune the Shobden NDB 426. See if we pick that one up as we get a little bit closer. Something I completely forgot to do, by the way, is close cowl flaps. So obviously we don't need the excess cooling now. That's going to reduce our drag a little bit. In case you're interested, we're doing about 220 or so knots true airspeed, which is what the performance table says we should be doing. If you're ever in any doubt as to whether this airplane follows the performance numbers accurately, it absolutely does. It's giving us a ground speed of about 235 knots. Pretty nice and nippy. You can see the turbos glowing a little bit inside the cooling grates just there. As we cruise along, it's about 10 to 2 in terms of the time, so it's going to start getting a little bit dark soon. The sun's getting quite low in the sky. Official night starts at about 4 o'clock this time of the year. In fact, I can tell you exactly when it's going to start. Today it's going to be 16:31. That's half an hour after sunset, so that's when official night starts in aviation terms. So it's not that long until official night time. We'll be on the ground before then, though. Just in case you don't have the Navigraph thing, by the way, and you want to know radio frequencies and things like that, you can just click on them on the map and bring them up. So if you want to know what that NDB is there, it's WBA. It's an NDB, and Frequency is 356, so it's always handy. Okay, I have actually determined that the ADF is working, so we managed to tune in Welsh Pool NDB, which we're literally going right over the top of right now. So that's handy to know. Can hear an idem, but it's unbelievably quiet. Desired track 021, heading whatever this is. You can see we've got a significant amount of crosswind still, although we have turned slightly to the east now, so it's transitioned into a slight tailwind now, so we're now got a ground speed of 241, sped up a little bit. Now some of this cloud is worrying me slightly because it looks to be at our level. And yeah, we can see some of it is now actually painting on the weather radar. Most of it still saying below us, but some of it, yeah, some of it is going to start to come up to our level, so it may get a little bit rough. Plus, also, we're going to be descending reasonably soon too, so that's going to get interesting. It's going to have to start using some of the anti-icing and de-icing features of this airplane. That is looking great. This is going to be a lot of fun. You can see that the worst of it is below our current level, but we are going to have to start descending very soon. Speaking of which, not far off our top of descent point, so we're going to have to start descending soon. So this is going to get rather rough. Probably be briefing the passengers at this point to put the loose items away, strap themselves in, visit the toilet if they so wish, or the cat litter tray, as the case may be in the in this particular airplane. You think I'm joking, but the toilets in this size of airplane are literally just that. It's a tray with some cat litter in. Okay, so I've just got a little message saying approaching top of descent. So it's reminding me that we need to start descending fairly soon. I'm just going to change that to a couple miles. $10 miles, a little bit overkill. Going to try to stay as high as possible for as long as possible to avoid this weather for as long as I can. I think it's inevitable we are going to have to go through it, but I'm going to hold it off for a bit. I've actually noticed that the charge on the iPad goes down over time. There is a way to recharge it, I think, by clicking on a certain spot. I've can't remember exactly which spot it is, so I should probably try to save the battery on that thing. Okay, so we're just sort of abeam Chester, approaching the southern outskirts of Manchester now. We're starting to pick up a little bit of clear air turbulence, which is nice. I'd definitely be telling the passengers to get sat down. Oh, look at rainbow. See all of this nastiness in front of us here. It's probably going to hit us just as we get over Manchester. Sometimes joke to people that Manchester is like the Addams family's house. It's always got a black cloud over the top of it and rain. It's certainly living up to that today. Third largest city in the UK, I believe, Manchester. Third largest airport as well, after Heathrow and Gatwick. Cool city, if you don't mind northern people. That's a joke, by the way. Just tune the Manchester Mike Charlie Tango VOR in there to give us a little bit of situational awareness as we fly past. Probably also be picking up a QNH from there. Usually when you have a standby altimeter, you set the standby to QNH. So I mean, you could argue that that should be set to QNH over on the co-pilot side, but given that we do have a co-pilot, I'd probably want her altimeter set to the same one as mine, just in case she has to take over if I become incapacitated. Making the turn now. Right, we have reached our top of descent point, so let's quickly bring up the checklist for the descent. Right, so the first thing it says is set landing field elevation plus 500, so I can't actually remember what the field elevation at Leeds is. It's pretty high, I know that much. So let's have a quick look. Approach, runway 14, let's pin this. Field elevation 681, so it's going to be it's about sort of 1,200 feet, isn't it? With the rounding up and adding the 500, so let's set that, and we're going to set it on the outer scale. Ooh. A lot of scrolling involved in this. There we go. Get my yoke back. Go back to my checklist. Fuel selectors are on main tanks. Mixtures, hang on. Maintain 1350 minimum. Altimeters, we're not going below transition altitude just yet. We'll keep them on standard for now. Avionics load the approach, already is. Radar altimeters set minimums. So it's going to be 200 feet. Given that already got it set to 200. Given that we've got a radar altimeter, and we have to use radar altitude minimums all the time, then we're using the little figure in brackets here, which is the MDH, minimum descent height, or sorry, DH, decision height. So there is a difference between MDA and DA. I'll describe that in a second once we start the descent. Okay, so I'm going to bug our altitude. Start coming back on the power. There's 4,000. I'm going to go VS. And bug our VS. So it looks like we're going to need about 1,500 feet a minute. So I'm going to bug that in. So pressurization set, fuel selectors are on the main tanks, mixtures, we're looking to keep them above 1,300 and they are at the moment, and altimeters, I mean, let's pick up a QNH. We're now, we're sort of starting to go through cloud now, so prop anti-ice wants to come on. I'm also going to put the windscreen anti-ice onto low as well. pull a bit more power off. Don't want to pull too much off, otherwise our EGTE is going to drop below that that 1350 minimum. Okay, so I'm going to quickly pull up some weather info. 909 so we'll go to 909 now. Now we're settled in the descents. That's 2947. There, set and cross-check. It's looking mean out there, boys. My God, it looks like I'm descending into the belly of some kind of horrific monster, which is kind of what it does look like when you're going through some really nasty cumuliform clouds. Busting out the fancy language. Let's go back to weather radar on here. It's looking pretty awful right now. I might, in real life, be thinking, well, do I really want to go into that stuff? I'd probably just, I'd probably start to go into it and see just how rough it was. There's no severe turbulence forecast, so as long as we can cope with the icing, we should be okay, but let's see how it works out. Starting to get a bit of rain hitting the windscreen. Ideal conditions for ice to start building up, so we need to keep an eye on the leading edge of the wing. Not too sure where the most ice-prone parts of the Form 4 are. And the DA42, I'm always looking, obviously, at the leading edge, but also there are little spots on the inside of the engine nacelles that tend to start picking up ice before anywhere else. So if I start seeing ice on those, it's usually a good indication that the leading edges and the flying surfaces are going to start picking them up fairly soon. Approach is not active, thanks for the reminder. We are routing towards the airport now, direct, so I may as well get it active. So let's go back over here, flight plan, and go down to our approach, and let's activate it. So that's giving us our vertical speed required here for our target altitude of 4,000. So we're doing okay. We're still kind of on profile to be at 4,000 just before we get to the LBA NDB. Okay, let's go back to weather radar. Not terrain, weather. There we go. And what we can be doing now is our pre-approach checks. So our pre-approach checks are ABC. So A stands for AIDS and ATIS. So let's get our AIDS tuned in first. We're going to want 110.9. On the nav radios. I'm going to put them on both for redundancy. And that's identing as the ILS. It's saying runway 32, that's interesting, because it's, from what I can tell, it's runway 14 in use, but I'm going to listen to the next thing, which is the ATIS. We'll do that once we've got all the aids set. We've already got the NDB tuned, although we aren't picking it up just yet. DME is indicating I would get the audio ident for the DME at this point. Any other aids we need to tune? We've got the GPS overlay tuned just in case we need that. We shouldn't do, but we've got it just in case. So ATIS, ATIS frequency is 11803. So 11803. Transfer that in. Audio panel. COM2.
Leeds Airport information, Whiskey 1400 Zulu. Wind 0901 at 7. Visibility 6 and heavy rain. Sky condition, ceiling 1,300 feet overcast. temperature, life. 2.10. QNH 29er decimal 47. ILS Yankee runway 14 in use. Landing and departing runway 14. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact UF Whiskey.
Okay. So we've got the ATIS. So that's AIDS tuned, ATIS on board. Got Whiskey, QNH 90908 hectopascals, 2947 or whatever it was on the American version. We've got runway 14 in use as expected. It's heavy rain. We've got 600 meters visibility, which is just above our minima here. Now, single pilot ops without an approach link to autopilot is a minimum of 800 meters, but we've got an approach link to autopilot and also got a co-pilot on board. So let's assume we're multi-pilot, even though this isn't a multi-pilot aircraft. Okay, so we are above limits for now, so we don't need to consider a diversion just yet. Okay, so that's AIDS and ATIS on board. B is going to be briefing. So let's brief the approach plane. What I usually do for these is just take them top to bottom. So we've got the ATIS on board. Approach we should have tuned. So let's stick it in fact, we can just put it on active. 1, 3, 4, 5, 8. We'd probably be talking to them at this point. The standby is going to be tower, which is 120305. Enter that, ready to go. Localizer is set 1109, identifies ILBF, so is it giving it, but it is saying, still saying 32, that's fine, it'll do for now. Check the pressurization, still looking okay. Final approach course 138, so I am going to set that now, a little bit early, but we're going to get ourselves well ahead of the airplane just in case. Refer to profile for the glide slope integrity check. It's going to be 6.1 for us, I believe. The decision height is going to be 200 feet, as mentioned. That's already set. Airport elevation's 361. We've got a sector safety altitude 3.5 from the direction we're coming from. This approach is going to be straight ahead to 2,000, then right turn back to the locator at 3,000, or as directed by ATC. We're not doing the alternate procedure. There's no other notes of any note on there. It's a steep approach of 3.5 degrees rather than the standard 3 degrees. That's something to note. At our approach speed, we should be coming down the glide slope at about 750 feet per minute or so, depending on what our ground speed is. The runway visual range minimum is going to be 550 meters for us, but obviously we've already checked it's just above that, so no approach ban in force. Any questions? Briefing complete. Okay, so C is checks, so that's our checklist. So let's go back off there and go for the 4 landings. Auxiliary fuel pumps can come onto the low setting, which they are. Gear position lights, we're not putting the gear down just yet, that's deferred. Lights is required. So let's go, well, we're a little bit fast at the moment, so we can't go landing lights out. That's 160 knots, I believe. Or 180, about 180 I think is the limit for the landing lights, so we'll leave those for now. Hopefully we've got enough time to get our speed under control here, because this is going to be pretty extreme. Check for ice, no ice at the moment. Wing flaps defer, prop sync can come off. Props check, 1,000 to go. Cabin heat as required, so let's just check cabin heat. It's getting pretty warm now. We can turn the heater off. Turn these down to sort of a middling setting. Ooh. Okay, keep that on for now and just turn the screen off to save some battery. Okay, I'll capture. So now we're going outbound on the 333 degree radial here. 402.5. What's it going to do? Oh, great, we've got no NDB, that's fantastic. So we're going to have to rely on the GPS overlay for this, so hopefully it works properly. Set the heading bug onto the radial required. Right, beacon outbound. So record beacon outbound with descent 3,000 feet now. Back into VS. Come down 1,000 feet per minute. We are now within speed range for the landing lights to come out, so let's get those on for conspicuity. Let's have flap limiting speed for the first stage. 171. I believe we are below that now. Yes, we are. So let's get a stage out. Still no ice. Weather radar is looking absolutely horrendous. But thankfully the airport is sort of in a little bit of a hole at the moment, so could be worse. Let's put some lights on in the cockpit because it is getting rather dark now. Okay, I'll capture, start pushing some power in. About 140 knots.
Passing 11,400 feet, descending 4,000 feet. Ryanair 2505, please approach QNH 29er decimal for 7 continuous planned.
About 140 is good at this point. So what we're doing is flying this outbound radial here at 9 DME. We're going to make an inbound turn to capture the localizer, hopefully. So I'm just going to leave it in nav mode and hopefully it'll do that. All on this lovely GPS overlay here. Normally we'd be doing it raw data, but without a working ADF, we can't really do that. Getting battered by that heavy rain, still no ice. That's the 737 we've just heard calling on the radio, so keep an eye out for him because he's a lot quicker than us and he's presumably going to be flying the same procedure. Just about coming up to the turn, speed's looking okay. There's the inbound turn. Set an intercept. Now the advantage of putting it on number 2 nav radio is that we'll be able to see when the localizer starts coming in on here, and then we can switch the CDI over to VLOC mode on the main instrument over here. Still no ice, outside temperatures just below freezing. I love these sorts of conditions in Flight Simulator. Obviously it's pretty scary in real life, but Flight Sim really shows off just what this thing can do. Okay, now it's identing as 1-4, so that's handy. Okay, let's go on to this now. And let's arm the approach within half scale. Glides coming in. See, we've now got localizer mode enunciating on the autopilot. Okay, localizer's captured. Okay, let's bring the checklist up. Look for half scale. Half scale we have, gear down. And take the next stage of flaps. Speed's coming back to 120, which is our V approach. Intersecting the glide slope, we're coming down. Looking good. Ground speed is just over 100 knots. So about 500 or 600 feet per minute should be our target rate of descent. Maintaining that nicely. We've got props and flaps landing to go on the checklist, but other than that we are complete. Get that out of the way now. Okay, 4 miles should be 22:10. 4 miles, 23, a little bit high. Just hit B and make sure we have got the right altimeter setting. So that's your glide slope integrity check. We're on speed, on glide, on the localizer. Okay, let's set missed approach altitude, which is 3,000. It's already been done. Coming up to 2 miles. I assume we have been cleared to land now, so the taxi light can come on. Start to see the ground coming up here, but we don't see any runway lights just yet. Radar altitude is showing conveniently placed wind farm. Okay, there's the lights. Taking over manual. Full flap, reds, blues, greens. Cow flaps open. Careful of that balloon as the flaps come down. Start to let the speed start to come back towards 100 knots now. That's decision height, continue. Power's coming off now towards 100 knots. Trim to help with the flare. That'll do. Careful not to brake too hard because obviously the runway is very wet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very horrible rainy Leeds. Okay, we are runway vacated. Set parking brake, set ground idle. Get our checklist back. And go for the after landings. Auxiliary fuel pumps off. Cow flaps are open. Wing flaps can come up. Lights, so let's turn off and retract our landing lights. Anti-coils can go, rest can stay on. Radar altimeter bugged to 0. Go. Ice protection is required, so we can turn off the windscreen now. And pitot heater can go, and the stall and vent heats can go off as well. That's done. Next one's just shutdown checks. Turn the screen off. And weather radar can go off as well. That can go to standby. Keep it on 2000 for now, not VFR. And let's quickly pull up an airport chart. I do roughly know again. We'll just park it on the remote stands just to the right there. Okay, idle throttle, release parking brake. There we go. Passengers can breathe a sigh of relief. To be fair, that wasn't, aside from the poor visibility, it wasn't too difficult an approach. The wind was reasonably smooth and reasonably down the slot straight ahead. So it wasn't too bad. Don't think we scared our pixely passengers all that much.
Descend and maintain 4,000 feet. Expect ILS Yankee runway 14 approach via Lima Bravo Alpha transition cleared to Lima Bravo Alpha generic Tango Tree Alpha.
Leeds Bradford, of course, the home of everybody's favourite northern airline. Over there. Plenty of them hanging out, as there always are in real life. We'll take this stand here, I suppose. Given that there's a nice person waiting out in the rain for us there. So go taxi lights off as we're coming onto the stands. Brake sets. RPM coming up to 1000s. And let's do our shutdown checks. So auxiliary fuel pumps are off. Lights, so taxi lights off. Nav lights can stay on until we shut down avionics. So it's all fine. Made our final radio calls. So the avionics bus is coming off. Alternators off and the corresponding warning lights. AC, so that goes off, blower off there. Mixtures to idle cutoff. There we go. Can get rid of our charts page. Mags off on the gang bar, and then turn the cabin lights off. And battery can come off on the gang bar as well. And that's that. Put our little iPad away. Just pop the door open here for them. There we go. And the lower half as well. There we go. Just bring the iPad back for a second, and we can get our aeroplane shocked. Can release the parking brake once you've done that. And everyone can get out. So there we go, some lovely Christmassy British weather here for you here in Leeds, and I hope that that was a moderately interesting flight for you to end the year with. Just as a last little message before I sign off for the year, thank you very much for everyone who's supported us this year. The channel's growing along nicely, and getting some really good comments and interaction from you guys, both on the videos and on Discord. If you do want to join us on Discord, the link is in the description, along with lots of other info about us and about the videos, so do click on those and have a look if you are interested. We'd really appreciate it if you subscribe and hit the bell thing and what other things that you're supposed to do on YouTube to make the algorithm like you if you enjoyed the video. And from me and from everybody else at Fly From Home, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in 2023. Take care. Bye-bye.